is.
Why do you think, and I am engaging with you, but I'm not sure you're engaging with me, why do you think so many people, even inside Extinction Rebellion, think that you have gone too far? When you recently said you wanted to put drones up around Heathrow to ensure that Heathrow Airport was closed down, there were people inside your own organisation who said, hang on a minute, that is not what we are about. You have to consider strategy in a way that you're not doing.
The fact of the matter is, with the aviation industry and the whole carbon economy, all this activity is bringing us to destruction. And there's people in Extinction Rebellion and in other networks who, as an act of conscience, are going to be taking action against it.
Yeah,
and that's the same as it happened in the past,
ask you
right?
Again. Here, I'll give you a quote from somebody, I don't know if you know him personally, but Simon McKibbin, a lecturer at Cambridge University, joined Extinction Rebellion, has now left, specifically because he was horrified and upset by your plan to shut down Heathrow with drones. He said, threatening to fly drones into a busy airspace is a departure from the ethics of non-violence. It threatens people, puts people at risk. He said, I believe if this is permitted to go ahead, we'll lose the goodwill of the public. Why do you persist with this?
Because we're facing mass starvation, and because people generally in society, and particularly people in the elites, are not capable and are not empathising with that reality.
Will you put those drones up?
Myself?
Well, you and those of your movement who believe like you that it's justifiable.
This is what's coming down the road. And if the elites don't respond to non-violent action, then you know what's going to come next. Is people other than Extinction Rebellion will use violence. That's what's coming down the road. I mean, I'm speaking as a sociologist here. I'm not saying it's good or bad. What I'm saying is, if you put a society under a massive amount of stress, if you propose...
Will you?
Just leave me a minute. Just let me finish this. If you tell the citizens of a country that the government is facilitating their death, then you can expect one thing, particularly in a country like Britain, where people don't put up with such nonsense. You can expect rebellion.
Will you? Just answer the question, will you try to close down Heathrow Airport with drones?
It hasn't been decided, and I don't want to talk about specific things, because that's not up to me. Right? That's up to the people that are engaged in it. What I can say to you is this is what's coming down the line.
Delicate question, man. You know, when someone's writing an eco-novel or a cli-fi, there'll sometimes be a lot of drones over airports like Heathrow, preventing planes from landing and taking off, right? Well, that's in a novel or manuscript, and as you will know, you're even allowed by law to murder a person or persons in, like, a crime novel. People die all the time on those pages in a book, if you know what I mean. So, in my case, the question of using drones or not preceded the creation of Extinction Rebellion. Call me a visionary or whatever, but having been a climate activist since my teens, it goes without saying I've considered a multitude of tools and action styles. Now, Extinction Rebellion started flapping its wings, if you can excuse the pun, about a year ago. People were sucked in through talks of non-violence and whatever, all kinds of kind and beautiful words and values. Then there was talk of using drones from I think it was May of this year, and following the first mention of active use of drones in XR actions, there was a huge and massive and long-lasting debate within XR about the use of drones. XR youth is against it, and XR elders were also against it. In fact, when the internal debate finally concluded in July, the very XR itself said a resounding no to the use of drones. Intellectuals were able to present the argument that the threat itself of violence amounted to a breach of XR's non-violence promise. And if you ask me, I've had quite enough thank you very much of politicians breaking their campaign promises. If you commit hundreds of thousands of ordinary folk in UK and across the planet to non-violent climate action, you can't just flip-flop and go violent all of a sudden. People have laid down thousands of hours campaigning, fundraising etc. under the pretense this would be a non-violent movement. And guess what? Ordinary folk do actually care whether their cause is a peaceful climate campaign or a terrorist movement. So to just answer your question directly, I'm against a small group of XR elitists charging ahead with their drone plans even after a 3-month internal debate concluded with a hard no to drone actions. It's undemocratic and pretty darn reckless. A particularly bad idea is to let high-profile persons that everyone connects with XR go ahead and promote and carry out drone attacks, because that puts grannies, granddads, teens and just ordinary people in a grim, semi-terrorist light. If it was a separate group entirely, like Drone Flyers Against Aviation, DFAA, to pick a funny name, with no connection to XR and no people from XR, I would be more open to morally supporting it, although I'm still 100% opposed to putting people in planes and the air at risk. I hope that answers your question.